Hello, and welcome to this screencast from Easy Peasy Photoshop Tutorials. Today we want to talk about digital images, pixels, resolution, channels, and modes. And this is how Photoshop will define an image using these four criteria. Number one is pixels, and we can easily demonstrate that by zooming in and keep on zooming in, and all of a sudden we start seeing some squares show up. Here we're at the highest zoom in Photoshop, and what we see is a mosaic of squares. These are called pixels, and that's short for picture elements. As you'll see, each pixel has a unique color. Now then, some pixels can have all the same color. If you had a red box, let's say, it would have the same color. Now as we zoom out and we get back far enough, we can start seeing the definition of what these pixels are showing us. So we have some pine trees over here, some bushes, and it's fall foliage. The next thing we want to talk about is resolution. Resolution right here is this number, and it tells us in relationship with the amount of pixels that we have what our output would be if we were to print out an image. So here we'd have a little under 3, almost a 3:2 image that if we printed out now at this resolution. Now if we want to change it to a 72 and keep the pixels the same, so we have this clicked off, we now have almost a 12:8 image that would be printed out. However, those pixels would be spread farther apart. A way to really show this is to watch a new file here, and what we'll do is just make it red, and we'll go in. Now look, we have an 8:10 at 300, but if I change the resolution without changing the amount of pixels, we get a 4:5. Now that's taking those pixels and reducing them 1/4 the size into a much tighter space. That means that if we had an image that had a lot of definition in it, we'd see even more crisper definition by doing it this way. And that's resolution. Now we can go into talking about channels. And files in Photoshop are made up in channels. So a RGB file stands for red, green, and blue. And these files, these images right here are all grayscale. And when Photoshop combines them together, and as we toggle through these, you can see that they have different densities and different values for the pixels. When we combine them together, they show us the fall foliage that we're looking at. So those are channels. And the last thing that we want to look at are modes. Now the file that we're looking at is an RGB color file, and it's at 8 bits per channel. Now then, what that means, there's 3 channels, and at 8 bits, 8 times 3 is 24. So this is a 24-bit color file. Now then, each channel can have shades from 0 to 255, so that is 256 different shades of red, 256 shades of green, 256 shades of blue within that file. Now then, that means that the potential for any one pixel can be one of over 16.7 million colors. Now this is what we call true color, 24-bit color. Now you can go less than that, and that's what index color will give you. An index color will give you a file that only has 256 total colors. Or you can go higher and go into 16 bits per channel. And that will give you what you call a 48-bit file. And of course, you can even go higher now at 32 bits per channel. But for the most part, whenever you scan in an image, or if you bring in an image from a digital camera, you're going to have either an 8-bit or 24-bit channel, 24-bit color file, or 16-bit per channel, or 48-bit color file. And of course, if you don't want color, there's always grayscale. Now bitmap up here is grayed out. What bitmap is each pixel is either black or white. And that's an old type of file, and we don't deal with those too much anymore. And Duotone is a specialized type of file. Now CMYK color is a file that is specially used for printing magazines, newspapers, and such. And if we click on that and we say OK, you'll see that we now have 4 channels instead of the 3 to make up the CMYK. However, when you look over here, everything looks pretty much the same. So let's undo that. Let's go back. Lab color is similar to RGB color. Multi-channel, again, is another option that you have. Now, you can, as I said before, you can get these digital images in through a scanner, scanning in the analog material, photographs, or you can get these digital images in via a digital camera. And point and shoot cameras will give you more of an RGB color at 8 bits per channel. SLR cameras will give you an RGB color and usually 16 bits per channel. And what's the difference between this? Well, an index color file is the smallest. Let's say you have the same amount of pixels. An RGB color file will be a little bit bigger at 8 bits per channel. If you take that same pixel count and go up to 16 bits per channel, it'll be twice the size as an 8 bits per channel file. Also, the added color depth of the 16-bit per channel file gives you the opportunity to do color adjustments in Photoshop, and allows you to do that without a lot of degradation. Now, it takes a lot of work in color adjustments in order to get to a color degradation on a 24-bit color file or 8-bit per channel file. So don't worry about that too much. Well, that's a quick overview of digital images, pixels, resolution, channels, and modes. And we'll see you next time, and have a good day, and take it easy. Bye-bye.